And to quote Silverquill at the beginning of his Rarity Investigates review, or to paraphrase him, shippings can be a pain, which is very true. Due to the fact that when you look at the overall Brony and Pegasus community and fan base, a lot of fans individually or together want to see their favorite ships become official in some way or another. And there is one character, though, that's at the center sometimes of what's known as the shipping wars. That character, of course, is Spike. And more importantly, who should Spike end up with? Well, I will say this. As of this season, and if you've watched the early releases courtesy of China, Spike now has not only one, not two, not three, not four, not five, but 6 potential love interests. 2 of them are dragons, that being Ember, the Dragon Lord, and School of Friendship student Smolder. The other new love interest that's entered the fray is, believe it or not, Gabby the Griffin. However, if we were to take those 3 love interests and put them to the side for now, let's talk about 3 potential pony love interests that he has from a fan's perspective. Those, of course, being very obvious. 1, Rarity. The other being, of course, believe it or not, AppleJack. And the third one, of course, being Starlight. But why are these 3 pony mares the potential love interest for this dragon? Well, I'm going to try my best, uncut and unscripted, to kind of explain that. You see, with Rarity and Spike, or Sparity for short, it's pretty much a love interest and a romance and an attraction and a friendship, whatever you want to call it, that dates back to the very beginning. And to a lot of fans, it would be a surprise if these 2 didn't end up together officially at the end. And a lot of evidence in recent seasons, if not this season alone, pretty much points at the fact that these 2 are going to be together some way, somehow. And there's another reason why a lot of fans look at it that way. In recent seasons, Spike, mostly last season, along with last season's Christmas special that helped close out the season officially, and then basically some moments here in season 9, like some of the moments we might get next week in Summer Setback, as well as the first 20 seconds of the mid-season finale, and then what we'll get in an upcoming episode on September 7th, from what I understand, with Dragon Dropped. And if you watch the trailer for the finale, yeah, there's a lot of evidence that's going around that would indicate these 2 would be together. However, even though the evidence is there, and this is a ship, a romance that fans expect to be made official, because it's one that's been growing and developing since day 1, since episode 1, it may not be the romance and the love interest he ends up with. Now, I would love for Spike to end up with Rarity just like anybody else, because I am a Sparity supporter. But what if the staff threw us a curveball? And what I mean is this. Thanks to Disney Fanatic, known for her Bride and Daughter of Discord series, and those very series in general, one other Spike romance ship that's been skyrocketed in popularity is with AppleJack. Mostly this has to do with Disney Fanatic building off the ending of the episode Spike at Your Service, and basically explaining that ever since then, AppleJack has started to develop strong feelings for Spike that go beyond friendship. And in fact, if you want a good example of that, check out chapters 5, 6, and mostly chapter 7, if not the entirety of Bride of Discord, to kind of get the gist of what I'm talking about. But another way people point out that these two would probably end up together or more compatible together is folks like Disney Fanatic put together compilation videos, one or two at a time, that showcase the moments throughout the series that focus on these two characters. Sometimes they use a thumbnail from one of the episodes to kind of get the point across. In fact, in one of the compilation videos that Disney Fanatic does, she uses the thumbnail at the end of the season 1 episode Ticketmaster to kind of get her point across that AppleJack and Spike would be perfect together just because of the way AppleJack looks at Spike and chases after him playfully. Now, could Apple Spike, as fans call it, become an official romance and love interest or ship in the show? Well, possibly, but they're not the only ship. There's one more, and that one more is Starlight Glimmer. And the reason Starlight has become a very popular ship for Spike, or love interest for Spike, is just the way they bounce off each other from season 6 all the way up to now. They just seem to work. They just seem, in a lot of fans' eyes, to have chemistry that goes beyond even the chemistry that Spike has with Rarity. And there are several fans at websites like Film Fiction that would basically put stories together that take place during, after, and in between seasons 6 and 7, and sometimes seasons 7 and 8, and even 8 and 9, that would basically kind of help develop the relationship between Spike and Starlight from something that goes beyond friendship into something more romantic. One fan in particular actually did a series of stories where Spike originally wanted to try to ask out Rarity, but he needed to go on a practice date thanks to that being an idea by Twilight. And after striking out a majority of the time, or at least not wanting to take a chance with certain members of the main 6, with the exception of Rarity, Spike ends up going with Starlight after Spike, earlier in the story, compliments of how cute Starlight looks when she kind of gets a little lost, which kind of surprises Starlight. Anyway, long story short, the author of this story basically writes it in a way to where Starlight just finally confesses how she feels, and Spike starts realizing that when he first sees Starlight in the simple little dress she has on, that boom, something just ignited inside of him that he's never felt before, even with Rarity. So anyway, getting back on topic, the question is, would Spike and Starlight be an interesting couple to be made official? Well, I believe, honestly, we can't just thank the fans that write stories like the one I just mentioned, but we also have to thank the show staff themselves for putting out so much evidence, if you know what I mean, visually, to kind of support the fact that, hey, these two could end up together. These two could make a great item. But would they? Well, I'm going to basically say how I think we would get our answer. The way I think we would get our answer most honestly, or definitely honestly, if you will, if we get an honest answer, I should say, is when the series ends. Well, not exactly ends, but when the book closes and we get somewhat what looks like an epilogue-like scene. A scene that takes place in the future. And we see this group of colts and fillies in a half circle in the meadow or whatever part of a Cantalata or Ponyville, getting all excited and hyped up from the stories that were just read to them by, of all ponies, of course, being Twilight. And then, as they're all excited and everything, in comes their parents. Some of their parents, of course, being the main 6, the main 7, the main 8, if you will. And one of the fillies or colts, if not both, that we see are hybrids of a dragon and a pony. Now, the way we'd be able to tell who Spike ends up with is how, what coloring or hairstyle or whatever kind of evidence there is of Spike and whoever he ends up with is in the filly. Now, whether or not the filly or colt, if not both, has a dragon tail, but the coloring of some of the scales is, let's say, white or purple, then we would know, and maybe, let's say, the mane has a highlight of, green in there, but it also has, the majority of the hair, like I said, has a few highlights of green, but a majority of it is the color of the pony he ends up with. That's how we'll know. So let's say the colt or the filly, if not both, has a main coloring or highlighted coloring of purple and green, very dark purple and green, and let's say the filly's is done up, or hairstyle or mane style is done up similar to Rarity's, then we will know that Spike ended up with Rarity. If we see the mane style of the pony, of the colt, of the filly, if not both, in pigtails, both on the side or something like that, and sorry if my finger hit the mic there, I do apologize, but with pigtails on both sides, or if not one side, and let's say both are wearing a cowboy hat or cowgirl hat, and the hair, like I said, it has a highlight of green in it as well as yellow, and the coloring is kind of like a hybrid of green scales or yellow scales with a purple or green body, or purple or yellow body, or orange body, I should say, orange-like body, then we would know he ended up with AppleJack. And again, the same pertains to Starlight. If we see a filly or a colt, and the filly has a hairstyle or mane style similar to Starlight's, and we see evidence of her coloring in there, or her highlight coloring from her mane in there along with Spike's, and the scales are kind of like turquoise blue, purple in a pattern, but the body's green, or the body's the same color as she is, and it's just got green scales, maybe with a few turquoise blues and all there, and purples, then we would know just by that Spike ended up with Starlight. Again, to me, it all has to do with what the show staff will give us, of what the show staff will decide. Because again, they love to throw us curveballs at times. They love to try to be unpredictable. And believe it or not, there are folks out there that don't read a lot of these fan fiction stories that kind of give strong support to these potential of the love interest Spike has or could have. So, to me, I think the best way we're going to find out who they decide he ends up with is if they throw in a little future epilogue scene of the next generation of ponies in the form of a bunch of colts and fillies that are the children of the main 7, the main 8, and one of them being half dragon, half pony. That one right there will be the evidence of who Spike ends up with. But we'll have to wait and see. They may not do that. They may just end the series with everybody happy, celebrating the victory, Spike and Rarity finally kissing on the lips to end it, end the story. Or kissing on the lips in a group shot to end the story, close the book. There you go. So, we'll just have to wait and see what they got in store. That's really all I can say. But what do you guys think? What do you think potentially could be the love interest for Spike and for Spike in the end? Do you think they will go the obvious route, which I do believe they will, and the majority of fans believe they will, and that's what Spike and Rarity ended up together? Or do you think they'll surprise us and give us either AppleJack and Spike as a bit of a thank you to the fans, because that's, like I said, a ship that fans started supporting, not just through the visual moments evident in the show, but thanks to a series like Bride and Daughter of Discord? Or do you think they'll throw us the curveball and give us Starlight and Spike because of basically the chemistry that a lot of fans see that they have and the strong bond both have? So let me know what you guys think though. Who do you think it would be? Again, all evidence, in my opinion, and I think anybody that wants to agree or not, does point to Spike and Rarity. But what do you think of the possibility that that could be a swerve, that we could end up being given a curveball in the form of AppleJack and Spike or Starlight and Spike? Let me know down below. Comment if you like. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about it, and I will talk to y'all later.